Okay, so this one's from Think Critical. We've seen his videos before, a few of them. And it says here, uh, DC and Marvel pulls your hand out of your ass. That's what his video is called. So he's going at Marvel and DC again, and I don't blame him because the nonsense they've been doing, and the political sphere they've been pushing onto these readers. So let's hear what he has to say, and we'll give our opinion. If you guys want to hear this, come over here on the YouTube, Twitch, Trovo, and Kick. If you want to be part of it and give your
Be a
opinion.
support hero today.
We're doing
by using
live
commands like
reactions as I do sketches.
/donation and /cash app.
Okay, let's do it.
Yearly reminder that DC and Marvel need to start pulling
Wait. Before I say anything, make sure you guys can hear it. Let me see.
Their heads out of their asses. We've had the year of 2023 completed. It was not good, especially in the retail market. A lot of retailers were struggling. We saw a lot of people go out of business. A lot of comic book retailers saying, hey, DC, Marvel, you actually need to write good stories. You got the characters, but you don't have the writing talent and you don't have the creativity to actually go out there and reach the audience that's craving your comic book stories. Another example of this is not in the direct market, which is truly the one place American comics have an enormous edge over manga, over kids' graphic novels, over all that kind of stuff. They have the direct market, and they do have floppy comic sales, which is something that manga and kids' graphic novels and stuff don't really have. So that's their one advantage, and they're ruining that. And we've talked for years about how Marvel and DC are writing for their trades. They don't even write single-issue comic books anymore. They're just chapters within stories, but that format is not even translating to graphic novel sales.
I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, as I currently see it as a creator and literally as somewhat of a business person, Marvel and DC is like a monkey with a gun. You never know where it's going to go. You really don't know where it's going to go. It's just like, it's going to be terrible 9 times out of 10. The shot's not going to make it, or it's just not going to work out. It's just, or they might get really lucky, hit a home run with something, and then flop it again because it's not actually putting aim. It's just shooting around and hoping for the best. It's literally a monkey with a gun in a dark room just shooting off for a target. That's literally what that is. Literally in a nutshell. That's how I look at DC and Marvel now. And that's not even just based on their comic book sales or their animated movies or their movies and their animated stuff. That goes for merchandise and just overall, like, everything. Just everything they do is always a questionable whatever it is.
We got the wrap up from ICV2.com, and then Comic Book Revolution kind of broke it down and gave some information. I thought it was very enlightening and interesting. And shockingly, I have some really passionate opinions about this and why Marvel and DC do need to remove their heads from the rectums and actually get with the program and try to actually write some damn good comic book stories. Manga continues to obliterate American superhero comics in an alarming fashion, giving the low quality of writing and bizarre editorial decisions at Marvel Comics and DC Comics. None of this is a surprise. The Circana BookScan Top 20 Adult Graphic Novel Sales Chart for 2023 was dominated by manga titles. There were only 2 non-manga titles in the top 20 adult graphic novel sales charts: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin hardcover, and The Mysteries hardcover by Bill Watterson. The remaining 18 graphic novels in the top 20 adult graphic novels were manga titles from Viz Media.
Majority of them was manga titles in the top 20, he said. I think 20. And 2 of them were non-manga, and they have Asian influence. Ain't that funny? Hear him again. He said majority of the adult stuff that was on the panel, there was 20 of them, majority of them was, I think 18 of them was all manga. 2 of them was non-manga, and the 2 that was non-manga has Eastern influences, and they're Ninja Turtles. That is so sad in itself. It's literally all 20 manga.
Says, hey, teach, I send you something on Discord.
Okay, I'll check on now. But like, geez, that is sad. That's literally, it's just manga. If you stop and think about it, like, if you take the Asian part out of it, then it's pretty much Western. But when you put the Asian part in it, it's kind of like half. It's like half American. It's like a 19, and it's like a 19 out of that 18.
and Kodansha. My oh my, once you start pulling the curtain back and you see just how badly Marvel and DC are being dominated by manga, it paints a very bleak picture, because
that is so sad. It's sad. So sad.
There is one place where there was enormous growth with comic book sales, and that was in the book chain market. Now, that's what Circana Bookscan is basically reporting on. I believe they report on over 80% of all physical sales, not to the store, but actually to customers across America. That is an enormously accurate accounting of what's going on when it comes to graphic novel sales in bookstores, where the growth was happening. Now, that has abated off a little bit. It's not quite as strong as it was, because we did come out of the pandemic shutdown and the numbers kind of flatten off, but they didn't really dip, which was a really great thing. And manga actually continues to see growth. Not surprising they get 18 of the top 20. Really, there's only one superhero comic book in there. It's not Marvel. It's not DC. It's IDW with TMNT The Last Ronin, which is probably the only thing that's kept IDW in business after all the terrible decisions that they've made. But what's interesting, what's unique about IDW's TMNT The Last Ronin? It's written by the original creators, or at least the concept was, Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman. It's actually adapted from a concept from 30 years ago, delivered out there, and it's basically something TMNT fans actually asked for. It's something that TMNT fans actually wanted. And this is what Marvel and DC...
So let me get this straight. The people who originally wrote that story of The Last Ronin, when it comes to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this story was written 30 years ago, and it did better than the new stuff. What does that tell you? Something is ultimately wrong when all the new stuff that IDW, DC, and Marvel's been putting out is not working. But when you go back to their back catalog, like the old stuff before like 2010 or so, around 2010 and back, do you see the problem? Like everything that's in the past does better now because people are asking, they're finally giving people what they asked for, not things that they're not asking for woke topics all day. No one wants to read woke stuff anymore. I don't think anyone even asks for woke stuff, except like crazy activists who don't even buy comics. They usually don't buy comics, and when they do buy comics, they have a complaint.
Absolutely have not been doing for almost a decade at this point. They've been so obsessed with finding a new audience that they basically forsake their original audience and turn them off. But when things come out that meet their taste or are actually high quality, they show up not only in the direct market, not only in the retailers groups, not only in their local comic book shops, but also in the bookstore channels as well. That's the only comic book of note that is even competing with,
except for the fake fans.
Yeah, it's all the fake people who somehow weaseled their way into the industry and then destroyed it from within the inside out. It's wild to me. And then they'll pretend like nothing's wrong what's going on in the Western market when it comes to gotta go. Okay, later T. Appreciate it. They don't, and they pretend like nothing's wrong with the Western market. They'll pretend this game and say, "Oh no, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine." And then what they're saying is they'll combine manga sales with their sales
the arm that's resting on the armchair.
And call it a day.
Part the hand, though, is tricky.
It's wild, and I feel bad. I think that who's suffering the most, there are two types of people that are suffering the most. Number one, it's the fans, but number two, it's the comic book shops. They're suffering the most because they can't even recommend the new stuff, because the new stuff is terrible. It's just bad. Like the new stuff is just bad. And then that hurts them in the long run, because if no one's buying the new stuff and no one's going to the old stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different, like, it's a weird trap. It is a weird trap that you're just placed in.
Preach.
It's not fair it's not fair to the fans, because now fans who wants to get into comic books for whatever reason, no matter if you're old or young, they have to they can't recommend the new stuff to you, because they know the new stuff won't make sense. It's not going to be it's not going to correlate correctly. It's going to constantly change. It'll never stay in course and where it's supposed to be going. and then it's going to
Says it beanbag
it's going to lecture you for being a
Says
dude.
chair.
They're just gonna lecture you for being a person, and then they're gonna lecture you for just like existing in general. And then you feel bad for yourself and like, why
Says
did I
it bright
spend money
plus
on this
chair.
thing, right? And then after doing that, it's going to turn off fans, and then people are going to tell other
Says it
people,
beanbag
don't get this comic book because it's just garbage. And then what's going to happen is comic book shops are going to either close down or tell them to go buy their back catalog of old stuff that came out 10, 20 years ago. Actually, not even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Because everything that came out for the last decade has been terrible and woke. That's the problem. It's insane.
Manga at this point. It gets a lot more bleak as we continue to go on. Let's talk about DC Comics and what they're delivering in the graphic novel market that's actually selling. DC Comics had a total of 12 titles in the top 20 superhero graphic novels chart, which is basically only
I'm Natalie Bryan.
It's chair.
It's hard to say like what the future
American stuff. It doesn't count in manga or kids graphic novel. Those 12 DC Comics titles included 5 titles from the 1980s, including Watchmen, Watchmen the Deluxe Edition, Batman Year One, Batman the Killing Joke, and V for Vendetta. Another 3 titles were from the 90s, including the Sandman Book 1, Sandman Book 2, and Batman the Long Halloween, meaning 8 of DC.
I heard that they're running Marvel. Wait, what did I say? He said, I heard they're running Marvel comics. It's gotten. I'm not against what you just said. Yeah, I believe they're running Marvel. It is terrible. He just said 3 of these books that 3 out of the 5 books I think he just mentioned is from the 90s. Their top selling stuff is from the 90s, bro. The 90s is 20 years ago. You see what I'm saying?
Says it beanbag. Yeah, he finished it.
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah, it's right here. Like straight up. Like it's from 20 years ago, bro.
Says 3 decades actually.
He mentioned 3 of them was from the 90s.
Says he looks cool.
Thank you.
DC Comics
Let me go back
from the
to it.
90s, including the
Guys, if you want to hear what we have to say on the comic book industry and stuff, come over here on YouTube and Twitch and you can hear the video that we're reacting to. We're reacting to Think Critical. He's giving his opinions about what's going on in the comic book space when it comes to Marvel, DC, IDW, and stuff, and we're talking about it right now. This will be on a YouTube video with a thumbnail and everything, so if you want to be part of that video and give me your opinion, come over here.
Sandman Book 1, Sandman doesn't count in manga or kids graphic novel. Those 12 DC Comics titles included 5 titles from the 1980s, including Watchmen.
12? 5 is from the 1980s.
Watchmen the Deluxe Edition.
5 is from 1980s, and 3 of them is from the 90s.
Batman Year One, Batman the Killing Joke, and V for Vendetta. Another 3 titles were from the 90s, including the Sandman Book 1, Sandman Book 2, and Batman the Long Halloween, meaning 8 of DC Comics' 12 titles are from comics 25 years or older. Only 4 of DC Comics' 12 titles came within the past 6 years, including The Batman Who Laughs, Batman 89 hardcover, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and Blue Beetle Graduation Day. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow and Blue Beetle Graduation Day both sold less than 10,000 units apiece for all of 2023. That is the low bar that must be met to jump into the top 20 sales for the entire year through the entire book channel in North America. Under 10,000 is what they did. Just think about this. Eric July's I Saw Number 2, which is basically a graphic novel that he released out and sold via e-commerce using his YouTube channel, would have actually jumped into the top 5. It would have been just underneath The Watchmen. That is
what? Are you kidding? So wait. So Eric July, I know who he is. I actually like his stuff. I do listen to him. I actually should put him on a few of his videos on my my reactions. But Jesus Christ, like, are you serious? His graphic novels, his works, the Islam thing, or Isam, I think Isam, I think it's Isam. Isam is right under Watchmen.
Says Ripper.
Yeah, from the Ripperverse. Yeah. Are you kidding? That, bro, I have no problem with Eric July. He's awesome. I love him. But like, geez, that's crazy. Is that the only thing they can recommend that is like traditionally cool? Like, let's hear that again just to make sure.
entire year through the entire book channel in North America. Under 10,000 is what they did. Just think about this. Eric July's I Saw Him #2, which is basically a graphic novel that he released out and sold via e-commerce using his YouTube channel, would have actually jumped into the top 5. It would have been just underneath The Watchmen. That is absolutely insane on the face when you think about it. Not that Eric July is insignificant, or not that I Saw Him isn't cool or any of that kind of stuff, but he's...
Her arm that's resting on the chair is a tad tricky to draw out evenly.
Yeah, I'll make it make sense. Hold on.
Absolutely pantsing and destroying what DC Comics are doing.
Wow.
The oldest comic book publisher in North America, been around for 8 years, has Superman, Batman, the Justice League, Aquaman, Flash, like Hawkman, all these characters of note, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, all these characters to mine, and they can't beat the guy with a YouTube channel. And look at that. Nothing, really nothing of significance that's been written with their prime characters in the last 6 years. The Batman Who Laughs, Elseworld story, Joker Batman mashup, whatever. You know, it's an all right story. It's better than it had any right to be. Batman 89, an homage to the movies from fucking 40 years ago. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which there's been articles written about how the sales on this just skyrocketed because James Gunn was out there promoting it, and it still sold less than 10,000. Blue Beetle Graduation Day.
Because it sucks.
I don't know why.
Just because, okay, it makes sense. James Gunn, who's working on the DCEU right now, it's going to make sense. It's going to make some sales because he mentioned it, because they're going to think that if they watch or read this Wonder Woman story, it's going to somehow harken back to his movies, which they try to do, right? But the problem with this is that it doesn't. And usually the writing is terrible because they have some crazy activist person writing something that makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever, right? And he even said, even after he promoted said comic book, it got less sales than I was expected because James Gunn... So let's just say James Gunn didn't say anything. It would have been significantly worse. So if it dropped 20, it made 20,000 sales. If James Gunn had said anything, it would probably be 4,000. Straight up, I'm not even kidding with you. And the only reason I got the 4,000 is because it's Wonder Woman. Just name and title alone. That's it. That's so sad.
That sold that many. Yeah, maybe because there was a movie out.
Yeah,
I'm just not really sure because that's absolutely trash. But those final 2 books will not be in the top 20 sellers for the next year because there's no longevity. Despite writing for the trades for like a decade now, they actually write no trades. They write no stories that have any staying power. No stories with gravitas. No stories that people talk about me like, oh my goodness,
they have no
this
continuity.
Came out this week. And if you didn't get it at your local comic book shop, you need to go to Barnes & Noble and get a copy because it's the most amazing Batman or Superman or Justice League story you've ever written. None of that is happening. There are no classics coming out in the last decade or so. There's only going to be a handful of books read in 20 years that actually came out of this time period. Maybe Batman the White Knight. I imagine Batman the Three Jokers will be in there. Certainly TMNT The Last Ronin. But there's not much out there. And DC, unfortunately, is the high water mark. They're the ones that are being really successful, even though nothing that they've really produced in the last decade has any staying power because it's so much worse at Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics only had 2 titles in the top 20 superhero.
Obviously, it's Spider-Man. It's going to be Spider-Man. The only thing that's keeping Marvel afloat is Spider-Man. The only thing...
I had a crazy time trying to get my passport today.
The only thing that keeps Marvel afloat is Spider-Man alone.
Says they have the fan face, they have the content, just not the talent or business intuition.
But that's the thing, they have the talent, they can get it, but they keep putting these crazy people who doesn't even like the comic book in charge. If you ask majority of the people who are writing these stories, they usually say they're not a fan, they don't know this character, or they don't care for the character. It's some activist crazy person who got the vehicle to write their nonsense into whatever this book is into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's madness. It's wild. They always... And then, if you look at the movie area, the movie perspective on this, if you look at every director, they all say they don't read the book. I don't know why, why they keep thinking this is the best playbook to run on. And it's not like a few; it's all of them. We don't read the book. We don't really look at the comics.
They gotta make better financial decisions.
It's not even financial. They just need to get people who actually like the franchise. But they don't understand this, and it's very odd to me. It's weird.
Graphic novels charts. Spider-Punk Battle of the Bands sold only 12,481 units in 2023.
They don't want to read the book cause they think it's a bunch of baloney.
I don't think it's that. I think because it goes against their ESG score, their ESG nonsense, where like if it's not inclusive enough, or I think that's the problem, because it doesn't follow their DEI woke nonsense with them. They don't look at it. You know what I'm saying? They just kind of, if they do look at it, they look at like 3-4 pages or get like a very quick rundown of what the character is, not the deep lore of this character. They don't look at character bibles at all. They never look at character bibles. They don't look at the comics. They don't even look at the surface level stuff. I'm pretty sure they ask someone who's like PR or someone who kind of is familiar with it, tells them like a quick summary of what it is, and they just run with that. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. That's it.
Spider-Man Miles Morales Volume 1 sold just 8,873 units in 2023. Penguin Classics had 2 Marvel Comics properties in the top 20 superhero graphic novels chart. The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man hardcover, both reprinting classic Stan Lee tales, both sold in the 9,000 unit range for 2023. All of these 2023 sales numbers for Marvel Comics are awful.
I know this
yes, it's
much,
absolutely embarrassing.
Also show the hand that's resting. The reference only shows like a diamond shape, so I'm not sure how to draw that hand correctly.
Yeah, in a second. I'm getting to that part.
Says it beanbag, yeah, probably Europe.
What the hell?
Embarrassing. Marvel Comics essentially have no classics out there. They were able to spike a number on Spider-Punk Battle of the Bands because people like the Spider-Punk design from the movie, and it is a good design. Unfortunately for the readers and certainly for Marvel Comics, that story from Cody Ziegler is absolutely awful. It's one of the worst things I've ever read in my life. And then we also had Spider-Man Miles Morales Volume 1, I think also from Cody Ziegler. Obviously, that interest is probably spinning out of the Across the Spider-Verse, a movie that came out that we're going to have a sequel to. So there was a little bit of spike of interest. And guess what? Spider-Man Miles Morales from Cody Ziegler, while certainly superior to his Spider-Punk book, still isn't all that good. And then the only other books out there really aren't Marvel books. They're Penguin Random House reprints of Marvel stuff, and it's Stan Lee on Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the only character anyone really cares about. Where's the Krakoan Age tales? You know, we're told the X-Men was so successful in the Krakoan Age. No staying power. Where are the Avengers? No staying power. No classic stories coming out, not even within the last 12 months, but in the last decade. It's just a dearth of nothingness. An entire void of comic book stories that no one will revisit because there was no quality. There was no oversight. There were no adults in the room at Marvel Comics to say, you know what? Perhaps.
I brought in one of our first. Hey, everyone.
No, this is. No, I don't think. Like, okay. I know what he's going to say. We all know what he's going to say. The reason why there's no so-called quote-unquote adults in the room when these choices are being made is because if they really voice what's really happening, they'll lose their job. It is what it is. They'll lose their job because if they voice their opinion on what's really happening, what's the problem, they're going to lose their job. They're going to be axed out of the industry, and then they're going to lose their livelihood. That's the only thing that's keeping people. This is why this is happening, because people are in threat of losing their job.
Says, oh yeah, how are you doing, Bean?
The right decision. Perhaps removing all the established heroes that people like in the MCU and replacing them with purse puppy diversity characters within Marvel Comics isn't the best idea. They didn't have anyone smart enough out there to actually say no to that, and they basically let the rats like run the ship. All the morons out there with the worst ideas possible, that's what they've been producing, specifically designed to be told in trade paperbacks, writing for the trades. Nothing is out there. No one cares about any of these stories because there's such a lack of quality. Even the good stuff, House of X, Powers of 10, I think is a story people will still be reading in 20 years. People will still talk about that and what might have been. Not on this list, because no one cares about any of the stuff that Marvel has done for the last 10 years.
Yep, he's
Everyone
right.
gave up.
He's right. He's right.
Cheese.
He's right. Ultimately, he's right. And I guess I'm right too, because like these people won't say what is really happening. He said puppy purse. He said puppy purses. Puppy. He said puppy purse characters. Jesus is an interchangeable weaving nonsense of stupid things that doesn't make any sense. That's what's happening here. Till they start losing some serious money, like they need to lose money.
She-Hulk.
They ruined She-Hulk. They ruined Hulk. They ruined Daredevil. If we're talking about MCU stuff, yeah, they did. They even still did in the comics, pretty much. But like, Jesus Christ.
Up. And we talk about those numbers. 9,000 units for the Spider-Man Tales. 12,000 for Spider-Punk. 9,000 thereabouts for Miles Morales Spider-Man, 10,000 or thereabouts for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, or Blue Beetle Graduation Day. Let's talk about what manga is actually selling. Let's talk about what gets you to the top of the manga charts, because I believe Watchmen was right about 23,000. It was number 3. That's how low it is when you get to the top of the superhero graphic novel charts where they remove manga. Let's talk about manga. The top 20 manga graphic novels chart was dominated by Viz Media, which had 18 titles in the chart. Kodansha Comics and Dark Horse.
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I'm not holding my breath for Deadpool. Like, don't get me wrong, it might be fun. I'm not gonna be that a negative Nancy on this one, but like, I don't think the Deadpool Wolverine thing is going to save. I don't think it's gonna save the MCU. I think what's gonna do is just hold it up. I don't think it's gonna save anything. I think it's going to make you think it's gonna save everything, but I think what it's gonna do is just hold it up till Kevin Feige thinks of something to get to Secret Wars faster. That's what I'm literally thinking what's gonna happen here. But then again, they also mentioned that they're not gonna be posting movies this year. They're gonna be posting like 2 movies a year till they get to Secret Wars or whatever. So like, I don't know, like this is I don't have hard faith in the whole Deadpool Wolverine thing.
It's not gonna save it, but it's going to hold its place.
Yeah, it's just gonna hold its place. It's just gonna hold up Marvel till then. We'll see.
Comics had 1 title apiece. The best-selling manga volume was Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 1, which moved an amazing 148,468 units.
Damn.
Sales did not drop below the 100,000 unit mark until the number 7 spot, where Chainsaw Man Volume 12 sold 99,231 units. The number 1 manga titles in 2023, Demon Slayer, sold 6 times more units than the best-selling DC Comics title for 2023. Demon Slayer.
Trying to ruin it.
Wait, what?
Demon Slayer is good.
With them about Deadpool because they're trying to ruin it. I believe you. I know. Listen, Ryan Reynolds has not been in like any actual blockbusters as playing himself in a while. He's in like 1 or 2 Netflix movies. I think it was a Netflix movie and the Free Guy movie, and that's pretty much it, right? And he knows the only thing that's holding his whole relevance is Deadpool. So if they ruin that ruins his money, right? He's not being asked to be in roles like that. So it makes sense why he will fight hard for the idea of Deadpool to make it work, because if it doesn't work, that's his money being messed with, right? He has that whole like Mint Mobile thing going on, but let's be honest, what's keeping people to even get the Mint Mobile is because it's Ryan Reynolds, right? Because it's Deadpool.
Ryan Reynolds is AG. He's also truthful.
Very much so. Right? That's why that's why most of the time when you see most celebrities play themselves, it's because they're being themselves. So like they're at that type of echelon where they can be themselves and still play themselves, and people won't see a
which
difference.
Which perspective is she in? I can't tell exactly.
2-point perspective. She's on a low point. We're looking from a low point, 2-point perspective.
Sold 12 times more units than the best-selling Marvel Comics title for 2023, Spider-Punk Battle of the Band. And we certainly have known...
Actually, no, I'm wrong. Thanks. It's either a 1 point or 2 point. It's either 1 or 2. Because it's going into the distance like this. Like, well, not like that, but you know what I'm saying? It's going like this. Or more like, I'll be more slant like this. Yeah, like this. I would say that's a 1-point perspective.
For quite some time that manga is stomping a mud hole and walking it dry when it comes to American comic books, specifically in the bookstore market. That is a shocking number. Those are shocking numbers when you see the
Very
actual
much so.
sales, the amount of units moved at the top of the manga chart, and then you get so embarrassed for DC and Marvel, the fact they've had their heads up their asses for a complete decade and can't understand why they're not getting over the hump, that maybe writing for the trades wasn't a great idea. But if you were going to do it, you should have wrote good comic books for the trades. You should have wrote good stories for the trades rather than wasting.
No, what's holding these companies, these Fortune 500 companies like Marvel and DC at gunpoint is literally ESG, DEI stuff. Because they know if their DEI is low or the ESG is low, they can't get investments, and if they can't get investments, they won't make no money. No one will invest in them. They won't have any investors. I think what these companies need to do, instead of going for investors, they should go for their fans. Like, they need to have like a donation thing for these type of companies after a while, because this investor thing is not working. It is not working. Because the investors are just crazy people who are just trying to look virtue signal. That's what it ultimately is. If like, this is why Eric July is doing fine. Think about it. He's doing fine because he's having his fans pay for him, right? He has his fans who actually believe in him to put in the work into the money that he's doing, because he has that patron, that fan base, because he can literally start his own website and say, you can give a donation if you actually enjoy my work. And that's created to customer. There's no middleman. There's no investors. There's no shareholder. There's none of that. That's just you, customer. That's it. If Marvel and DC do that, and IDW figure out a way of doing something like directly to customer, no shareholders, no middleman, they're fine. This will go back to where it is. But while they're on this DI, ESG, BlackRock, Larry Fink nonsense, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be a constant. Things don't change till something bad happens, right? Something significantly bad has to happen, like Bud Light, for it to like make it, and that didn't make much of a change. It just gave Bud Light a bad press. That's it. Till they start realizing, man, this is not working. We need to go back to basics, like literally go back 30 years now. Then things will go back to where it is. But this nonsense they're doing.
Action show or TV Teen Titans.
Yes, you'd be surprised if right now DC, Marvel, or IDW put up a poll and saying, do you want things to be back how it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, or now? I bet you that will be beyond just 100% on Twitter. Put that on Twitter. I bet you it'll go beyond what it is. So probably 1,000 people say yes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 100,000 plus million. They're tired of what's been going on with the video games, the merchandising. They're tired of the comic books. They're tired of the movies. They're tired of the live action shows that pander and woke up everything. I'm telling you now.
Your time alienating.
There's a reason why you're Eric July, your Endymions, your Kyels. This is why your It's a Gundams. All these people, your Northrotics, all of them are so popular because they're telling the truth of what's happening. These people, if it was not true, they will not be as popular. Just a fact. I'm telling you now. The reason why people don't like Nerdrock because he tells the truth. The people who don't like Endymion because he tells the truth. The people who don't like even Think Critical, who I'm listening to right now, don't like the truth because it is the truth. That's why. And the people who are creating this stuff don't want to hear it, and then they cancel you or blacklist you from the industry because they don't want to hear their sins being told. And then they pretend like nothing's wrong. That's the problem. I think every company should go against the BlackRock thing. Like, honestly, they all just write a petition, go against it. I bet you the BlackRock will have to turn. Straight up. The Sweet Babies, all of them.
Entire audience, because you didn't like what they stood for, trying to bring in a new audience that had already found what they.
They're not lying. Straight up. I'm telling you, there's a reason why I listen to them. If you listen closely at them, and these are different people. That the one thing I learned is these are different people from different walks of life. If they're all saying the same thing, and people are, and you know their names without even watching their videos. You know they're telling some form of truth.
So much more positivity going on in manga because they actually go out of their way to satisfy their fans. They go, you know what? You like this character? We're going to tell you the best story we could ever possibly imagine that you would like with this character. Whereas at DC and Marvel, like, oh, you like Batman? Well, I'm the writer now. I didn't create the character. And I certainly haven't been writing Batman for 80 years at this point. You know, that's how long the character's been around. I don't like these key aspects about Batman, and I don't care if you like him or not.
Exactly.
I'm going to remove them.
Yep. And that's the problem. You get a crazy person who does not like the character. Imagine if we had someone.
I'm tired of black people in movies that's supposed to be diverse.
Yes, that's annoying. That's annoying. That's not diverse. You're just being lazy. Write a new character. Write good characters. And for some odd reason, there's a weird. I didn't notice it till now, but there is a high influx of black characters who have electric powers.
With rolling eyes.
I don't know why.
The original writers, so they can just change the character.
Yeah, that's annoying. I hate that. And it's sloppy seconds. That's what literally it is. We take a slot.
I don't mind black peeps in there, just not as main character when they're.
Yes, I don't like it either because what it is. It tells me, oh, the only reason why we're making that individual into a different, diverse person is because they're popular, not because just because. Because if that's the case, take a character that is very non-popular and change their change their diversity.
Even gave them permission to change the main aspects of them. They're made that way for a reason.
They're made for a reason, but because they want to get into good graces with Hollywood. Hollywood has now a criteria for most TV shows and movies. You have to have a certain amount of diverse people into your movies now. That to get an Oscar or get any type of reward system, because they need that. They want that reward system. They want the rewards, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, all those type of stuff. So once they put out their movie, it can be nominated, or they can be nominated for a potential Oscar or whatever, or I don't know, Grammy or whatever the hell, right? So not Grammy, I think that's for music, but you know what I'm saying. So that's what it literally is. This is why more independent, I believe, independent games, independent writers, and independent webtooners, independent animators, and independent movie creators are being seen more than the AAA stuff, because
I just hate that they're running the original character.
Yeah, I hate it too.
We know and love.
I hate it too. I don't like it at all. You can write a diverse character perfectly fine. They don't, whether it's their orientation, their skin color, whatever, you can do that. But you have to make them make sense in the ethos of whatever the hell you're writing. Right? You just can't change a character, because that literally might change the dynamic of all characters, right? If you make the mutant thing, let's say the mutant thing, from X-Men. If you make the mutant thing just not a gene, but an alien thing. If you make it more alien, it's not going to be considered a prejudiced thing or discriminatory thing. It's just a misfortune that could be probably revealed.
They even changed Harley Quinn from Batman.
Yes, they did.
With that one.
Yes, they did. They did many times. If you're talking about the comic books, yes. If you're talking about the game, definitely yes.
I think this is what Batman stands for, and I'm going to make my social statement on Batman in the Batman series.
Yep.
And wonder why people go, you know what? I don't think I like this Batman. I don't think I want to read about this version of Batman. Maybe.
And then when you say you don't want to read this type of Batman, guess what you'd be called a name? Straight up, that's how it works. I like Batman. This person's writing Batman. He or she don't like Batman for whatever god-awful reason, for their, woke reason. They write everything that is not makes him Batman. And then they realize, sales are not going up. I wonder why. Maybe it's just those terrible people that we talk about all the time that's not getting us sales. And the terrible people they're talking about is the people who was actually supporting them, but now you change their character completely. They're not. That's not Batman.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they tried to change the Joker in the game and comic books at one time.
If you're talking about the most recent game, the Sushi Squad game, yes and no. It's a Elseworld Joker from a different universe, but he's not as intimidating. He's just very safe. He's like a knockoff type Joker compared to Arkham Joker if we're talking about Sushi Squad.
Danny O'Neill era. Maybe I should go back to the original Batman series. Maybe I should go back to the early days of Detective Comics and get away from this stuff, because there are so many writers out there in the American comic book space that they hired on purpose to alienate all of us and turn us away. And that is why manga is absolutely stomping the absolute shit out of American comic books. And it's,
I don't know if they're still running with the Joker that's like the 3 Joker thing. I think that's still interesting to go with. I'm pretty sure they changed that, or they did something with that by now. If that's what you're referring to. If not, then I don't know. Because they
like
always
the gay Joker wink.
Oh, the baby thing? Are you talking about when he had the baby or something? That was the most horrific thing. That was like, what, 3-4 years ago? That was a horrific sight. I don't know why. There are weird people that is running over there in DC. That was wild. I don't know who thought that was even a joke. That was just very odd. Play.
It sucks, and it's a little bit depressing when you see this stuff, but it's important that we talk about it. It's important that Marvel and DC acknowledge that what they have been doing, their strategy for the market, is a complete failure, a decade's worth of failure across the board. Now, will they rise to the challenge and fix things? I certainly hope so, and I hope you're along for the ride. If you would like to be with me as we discover the highs and lows and everything in between of comic books, there's a lot more content over on the Patreon, upwards of 8 hours of brand new comic book centric podcast every single week on the Patreon, delivered to you via there. There's a link in the video description. Lots of fun stuff going on in there. And we will be here when Marvel and DC right the ship. They pull their heads out of their asses and they finally get American comic books where they need to be again.
Well, that was DC's Marvel Pull Your Head Out of Your Ass from Thinking Critical. Thank you for that, Thinking Critical. We'll be watching another video after this from you. But, like, yeah, it's the same thing. I
actually like Jared Leto as Joker.
Well, I didn't really have a problem with it. I think they rushed his character too hard. I think the problem was that they rushed his character way too hard in the movie series. Oh, in the movies. I just don't think he got enough time to do what he wanted. I feel like he could have been a great thing, but I think it was just too rushed. Everything was too rushed with the Snyderverse stuff and trying to make sense of it all. And then it was playing catch up with
the new Joker from the movie. It was very interesting.
There was playing too much catch up with DC, which they should have never done that. They should have just literally just stayed the course and did each character with their respective movies. That would have been the smartest thing to do. But they was too busy trying to play catch up with Marvel, which was stupid on their behalf.
Not enough screen time.
Yeah, it was just very weird. I think the director said they cut majority of his parts out for runtime. I don't know if it was a special reason, but he did do that, which was annoying. So that kind of ruined his whole situation. And then I think even worse, because they rushed it, he just came off as like very like a caricature of what Joker is than what he truly was. So like I felt bad for Jared Leto in a sense, because I don't think he got enough time to really work out the character in a way that it was really authentic yet. I think he was just shoehorning it in because of the time crunch that they was trying to do compared to like movie scheduling and all that stuff. So I felt bad for him. So yeah. All right. So with that said, like, subscribe, share, follow, and comment. I hope you guys see this in next time. And thank you for watching. Laters.